Now the OnePlus 12 was released a year ago, and of course we have a global release for that, but the OnePlus 13 so far is of course only for the Chinese market, but I did buy it from Trading Shenzhen to allow me to get that and showcase you how the camera performs when it comes to the OnePlus 13. Of course, if you want to check it out, link in the description, it's an affiliate and it does help out my channel. But when it comes to this, let's find out if the OnePlus 13 is a really good upgrade compared to the OnePlus 12 in terms of camera. Let's dive into the video. Now before we begin, a quick rundown of specifications between both of these phones. They both come with a 6.82 inch AMOLED display, 120Hz refresh rate and both a 4500 peak brightness. Resolution is also the same at 1440p. Now because my version is the Chinese version, it runs on Color OS, where the OnePlus 12 runs on Oxygen OS. It's still a Chinese version, but Trading Shenzhen of course rooted it to Oxygen OS. For the CPU, the OnePlus 12 has the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, where of course the OnePlus 13 has the Snapdragon 8 Elite. Memory configurations and RAM configurations are pretty much the same. 256GB up to 1TB, 12GB of RAM up to 24GB. For the camera setup, the main sensor is the same. It's a 50MP sensor with an f-stop of 1.6, 23mm equivalent and a 1/1.43 inch sensor size. For the periscope, however, there is a difference. We get a 50MP sensor with an f-stop of 2.6, 73mm equivalent and a 1/1.95 inch sensor size on the OnePlus 13. However, with the OnePlus 12 it's 64MP, an f-stop of 2.6, 70mm equivalent and a 1/2 inch sensor size. Now for the ultra-wide we get a 50MP sensor with an f-stop of 2.0 and 50mm equivalent in terms of focal length for the OnePlus 13. But surprisingly, the sensor size has decreased. It's the JN5, meaning it's a 1/2.76 inch sensor size. However, results, as you will see, don't reflect that. And then for the OnePlus 12, we get a 48MP sensor with an f-stop of 2.2, 14mm equivalent and a 1/2 inch sensor size, so it's larger on the OnePlus 12. For the front-facing camera, again the same setup, however there is a difference in video recording where you can go up to 4K in 60 frames on the OnePlus 13 where you cannot on the OnePlus 12. But it's a 32MP sensor with an f-stop of 2.4, 21mm equivalent and a 1/2.74 inch sensor size. And then of course another big upgrade for me is the fingerprint scanner, where with the OnePlus 12 you get of course the optical fingerprint scanner, with the OnePlus 13 you get the ultrasonic fingerprint scanner. It's more secure and faster. We also have an upgrade in battery. We get a 6000 mAh battery in the OnePlus 13, where we get a 5400 mAh battery with the OnePlus 12. Both however are supported 100W wired charging that was included with the OnePlus 13. And both of course support wireless charging 50W as well. Either way, specs out of the way, let's see what the difference is between the two when it comes to the camera performance. So we are starting these shots off in master mode. Instead of me trying to give an opinion on each photo, I wanted to really discuss my findings more between these two and their different approaches. And in master mode, both don't go for the approach that you would normally see from OnePlus or other devices, with the more vibrant colors and more pop to them. This holds even more true for the OnePlus 13. It comes over very natural in this master mode photography and it doesn't over sharpen. The OnePlus 12 however does have a bit more pop to it and a more warm hue to it as well, with a bit more color and sharpening. For myself, I prefer the OnePlus 13 approach here, although it could do with a bit more deeper blacks and contrast itself. But these kinds of shots are fairly easy to edit as well to get that a little bit more effect to it. That being said, in master mode of course, if you don't go for auto mode, which I'm using here to showcase the difference of approach between these two in auto mode with master mode, you can adjust the contrast, sharpening and so on. Alright, so now we're gonna try auto mode as well instead of using master mode to see the difference in processing when it goes for that more vibrant color that we all know from phones these days. Now with the main sensor still, but in this case auto photography. The one thing that I've noticed is that there is a very different approach between the OnePlus 13 and the OnePlus 12, with the OnePlus 13 being a lot sharper. I would say sometimes a bit too sharp in some cases. But in turn I will also say that I like the contrast a bit more on the OnePlus 13 over the OnePlus 12. It just makes the subject stand out a bit more in comparison, even more so in this Porsche shot. It has a nicer deeper red as well, and next to it, it just makes the car stand out more. that being said, again, it has a little bit more sharpening going on. And for me, sharpening, depending on the shot itself, it can help. But for myself, I prefer natural detail over artificial sharpening myself, especially if I do like to edit my shots, because removing sharpening is harder than adding it. But in turn, when it comes to this auto photography, I will say that I like the bit more contrasty look that the OnePlus 13 gives over the OnePlus 12 in comparison. If I could have the contrast of the OnePlus 13 and in some cases the colors of the OnePlus 13 with the more soft look of the OnePlus 12, that would be probably the best middle ground between these two.
4K 60 frames per second on both. Seems to be a bit of a difference in colors already. Also HDR off both of them, because if you put HDR on, the OnePlus 12 is limited to 4K 30 frames per second versus 4K 60 frames per second on, of course, the OnePlus 13. Also Ultra Steady is off, because Ultra Steady does work at 4K 60 frames per second on the OnePlus 13, but it doesn't on the OnePlus 12. On the phone, definitely like the OnePlus 13 better when it comes to the colors. Unsure why the OnePlus 12 is wider though in terms of image. At least it looks like it. Yeah, it definitely is. The OnePlus 12 is a bit brighter. OnePlus 13 is more reality and looks more pleasing for me. Zoom in 3 times and 6 times for both. On the phone itself, I don't notice much difference. So it seems more zoomed in for the OnePlus 13. Front-facing camera HDR off on the OnePlus 13 because it does allow you to do so. Or on the OnePlus 12 you do not. I like a bit more contrast on the OnePlus 12, I will admit. Skin tone look much paler on the OnePlus 12. Well, not much, but paler nonetheless.
So this section I quickly want to talk about the video recording issues with the OnePlus 13, because I found out something. On the OnePlus 13, when I put the footage in Premiere Pro, there is an issue. The jitter, the frame drops and so on is more than what you actually get from the source file itself. If I watch it on my PC, I don't have that issue as much. It's still there, it's prevalent, but it's nowhere near to what you get in Premiere Pro. It seems to be a codecs issue or something else that makes the footage much more jittery and of course having much more frame drops than normally. This means that the video footage that you saw on the previous video of the OnePlus 13 has that effect. What I did to fix it for today, and sadly it's not a sponsor because it would be a perfect fit, is use UCut. What I had to do in UCut, however, is not use the original file. No, I needed to use Bright and then put it down to 70%. This gets as close as I can get to the footage that it looks natively on the OnePlus 13 and of course on my PC itself without using Premiere Pro. So it's about 96 to 98% there, but not fully. There is a slight difference, and I really wanted to talk about that shortly because of this comparison. And of course, just for clarity for everyone else watching this video. Now, when it comes to the ultra wide, you may notice straight away that the 12 has a wider field of view, because the 12 has a 40mm equivalent wide angle, where on the OnePlus 13 it's 50mm. And I'm perfectly fine with that for myself. With the ultra wide, we do see a very similar approach for both of them compared to the main sensor for both of them. However, the OnePlus 12 by default has far more sharpening going on compared to the OnePlus 13. Again, this is a preference thing of course, but for myself, because of that, the OnePlus 13 feels far more natural and the approach is somewhat similar but evolved compared to the OnePlus 12. And it has my preference out of the two. Again, just like the main sensor though, the OnePlus 13 could use a little bit more contrast under this auto master mode. A bit darker shadows to make things stand out more. Again, you do have control over that on the Pro, but this is just on the auto. And when zooming into shots, that over-sharpening also adds some artificial look on the OnePlus 12. In some cases, slight chromatic aberrations as well, where the OnePlus 13 doesn't suffer from that. I will also say in shots like this, you will see a lot more natural detail on the OnePlus 13 over the 12. The image simply is much better with this windmill shot. The level of detail retained on the ultrawide, of course using master mode as stated, simply is a good step up in comparison. And I feel like in daytime shots, what I've taken so far, there you will see the biggest step up from all the sensors compared to the 12. Now we come to zoom, and this is a bit of a harder one. Again, starting with master mode, we see the same things as I stated before with the same approaches between the two. But the OnePlus 13 is supposed to have a good upgrade when it comes to the telephoto periscope. On the OnePlus 12 we get a 64 megapixel resolution camera which has a 70mm equivalent zoom level, and the sensor size is a 1/2 inch sensor size. While on the 13 we get a 50 megapixel sensor, 73mm equivalent, but also a slightly larger 1/1.95 inch sensor size. What does this mean in testing so far? It's not a simple answer. Yes, there are differences. In some cases they are quite substantial, where indeed it feels like a good update. But it feels more like better processing than it being down to the sensor size itself or the sensor that is being used in this case. In the shots like this train for instance, you can see a big difference in the image itself comparing these two. But in turn we also have moments where the OnePlus 12 has a bit better result. This will be different in low light though, but that's for another video. The biggest thing I noticed out of these two is that the OnePlus 13 is a little bit faster in processing these telephoto images. But also a downsize, and that downsize is this.
And the difference that this telephoto makes in the minimum focus distance, even if I tap on it, it doesn't want to do it. I need to step all the way back because it is about 50 centimeters. And let me show you what that does on the OnePlus 12. Now the OnePlus 12, as you can see, straight away focus. And no, it's not a macro because I turned that off. You can see here straight away your focus goes up. I can get shots like these that I cannot get on the OnePlus 13.
So with this OnePlus 12 versus OnePlus 13, I will say that yes, again, a 1 year update doesn't make a lot of sense for a lot of people. There are, however, things that I've noticed while shooting with both of them, and what is an upgrade but also a downside. For instance, the OnePlus 13, as stated, doesn't have the best telephoto when it comes to shooting, for instance, flower shots. Because of the 50 minimum focus distance, this means that you cannot get as close to, for instance, flower shots. I will also say, when it comes to the telephoto, I thought it would be much more of an improvement, but it really isn't that much. It just depends a little bit on the shot and the situation when it comes to daytime photography. Low light, we're gonna get into that one for our next video. But when it comes to the biggest upgrade for me, when it comes to this OnePlus 12 versus OnePlus 13, where the 13 does it best is the ultra wide. The ultra wide, yes, isn't as wide, but it definitely retains much more detail in the shot itself. It has more information in the shot, and I think there it's the biggest upgrade. And of course, battery life. And of course, we have the issue with video recording. When I video record on the OnePlus 13, it's perfectly fine when watching on the phone itself and on my PC. However, the moment that I put it in Premiere, it's not. And when I say perfectly fine, I mean it's how it reflects on the phone itself. It isn't how I showcased on the other video, where it has a lot more jittery effect going on, the frame drops and so on. It's exaggerated a lot more when it comes to putting it into Premiere. This means that I have to export the video via that video program that I spoke about, and then get it into Premiere Pro to make it work for this video comparison. It's a bit of a hassle, and I feel like that's a weird take. What could be the difference is that, of course, when it comes to the OnePlus 12, that is voted to be Oxygen OS, where with the OnePlus 13 it's Color OS. Don't know if that's the difference, but it could be. Either way, what do you think about this comparison between the OnePlus 12 and the OnePlus 13? For myself, I think it's not worth it to upgrade if you already have the 12. But if you have the 11, yeah, there should be an upgrade for you. Now, of course, I also really want to thank my members. I appreciate the support a lot. Thank you very much for you guys to support me. And if you want to, you can become a member by clicking join below. But of course, other than that, you can always comment and interact with the post itself, share it and so on. It really helps out the channel size like mine. Either way, I hope you enjoyed this video. Talk to you guys in the next.